What is going on, everybody? Welcome tonight to Bristol Motor Speedway for the Geiss Fire Alarms 125 here in the Wednesday Modified Series in the SK Modifieds. And no, Geiss's Fire Alarms is not an actual company, but if you did tune into the last stream, you will know that you probably want the same brand that Matt Geiss does because they were going off all stream and, well, they get your attention, so... Just a little inside joke there for y'all, but yeah, welcome tonight. I'm Zach Wetstein. Tonight I'm with Will Paisley. How you doing, Will?
I'm doing pretty good. Looking forward to some SK modified racing here at the last great Coliseum, Bristol Motor Speedway. This should be a really fun one. There's not a lot of off-throttle time here, if any at all, for the first few laps, and it should be a really good time.
Absolutely should be half-mile track here tonight. The when you talk about tracks and the degrees of banking, you usually think of Talladega Daytona International Speedway, but Bristol Motor Speedway, it's a short track, but it has the highest banking, and you can see it here tonight with the transition from the front stretch to the turns or the back stretch, and it's just a joy to be on and a fun race to watch. So looking forward to watching this race tonight here at Bristol Motor Speedway, and as you can tell, qualifying is going on, so we're going to go ahead and catch some of these guys doing their laps. Currently have 12 or 13 qualified.
Looks Logan Surgeon up here. Pretty nice looking SK.
Yep, Scotty Stevens with the pole spot so far. Logan Sturgeon going to try to change that here.
Yeah, and it's all about trying to keep that car as low as you can entering the corner and then not scrubbing off as much as possible, because these things don't have a lot of horsepower, and getting around here, I mean, you're just holding it to the floor and just trying to keep it steady without losing any time from going too wide or turning a little too much.
As Logan Sturgeon goes across the line, and he will be in the 11th position for now, as Kenneth Younts jumps to the top of the board. Oops, sorry about that. Clicked the wrong camera, but Kenneth Younts to the pole spot so far, and I forgot to mute iRacing. There we go. Tanner Marr on track. We're going to go a little bit of an onboard with him, if I can get it, just to see these laps and really see what you're talking about in terms of just on the gas all the way around the track. And you see, you just got to keep it as close to that bottom as you can. That, you know, going into the turn, it's going to push you up a little bit, but you got to work against it as much as you can. Keep it on that bottom. It's kind of like old school Bristol. You know, it's a lot different car than they would be running at old school Bristol, but it's still bottom racing here at Bristol regardless.
Absolutely, Zach. And these cars are really fast around here. When you have this much banking and everything, you sort of just make the car about as loose as you can handle. But hopefully you can manage to hold it once the tires start to wear a little bit. If you're wearing out that rear tire quite a bit, you're going to end up having that car try to spin out on you later in a run. So hopefully these guys have accounted for that, maybe tightened up their cars just a little bit, just so that way they're able to still hold that bottom and keep it as flat as they can, but not get it to where they're starting to wreck just from trying to keep the car going into the corner as quick as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Good info there. With, you know, when the tires start to go, it's going to start to push even more, like you mentioned. So gotta be wary of that. Mikey Keller is currently on his first lap. We have 24 qualified so far, and it looks like actually maybe he messed up or something. I think and it's probably what I think it is, but it looked like he went out on track before he crossed the blue line on pit exit, so he might have gotten a black flag, and that's why that lap did not count for Mikey. Right now we have 24 qualified, and it looks like we're going to have possibly up to 28 in tonight's race, which, if you guys haven't seen this series yet, what we like to do is, or what we do is we take the top 15 qualified and we lock them into the main race, and then we take the rest of the field that has qualified and we make them do a B main. So, and we make them fight for the remaining 5 positions in the top 20, and everybody else is out. So Right now, like we mentioned, we have 24 qualified. So if those were the only people to race, we would have 16th place Cody Boehm all the way back to 24th place Sean O'Connor right now, and they would duel it out in a B main. And currently, we have transitioned to the B main session, and we have 13 cars. We'll see how many of them grid up, but if we have 13, we have 13 fighting for 5.
This should be pretty fun. I don't know if you really want to start at the front or the back here. You definitely want to start towards the front, but if you're in that middle area in the pack, you're going to have a hard time passing through here, especially with only 20 laps. And it's going to get kind of crazy in that pack there. So you want to be really careful, and hopefully you don't either get stuck behind somebody or get stuck in a wreck just from trying to race each other.
So looks like we
Always
have.
possible around this track.
Sorry about that. Looks like we have 11 drivers here in the session. So the top 5 make it into the main race. Currently, Cody Boehm, Chud Bassett, Joaquin Meza, David Hall, and Matt Geiss keep those or have those top 5 positions. And Aaron Ward, Ray Page, Philip Manzo, Sean O'Connor, Mikey Keller, and Keith Lichtenwalner all outside of that top 5 spot and are going to make their best to try to get into that main race. And that's why I always look at, this is only a 20-lap race compared to the main being a 25-lap or 125-lap race. But I always feel like we might have more cautions in this one just because you only have 20 laps, and the guys in the back that need to get into that top 5 are always trying to be a lot more aggressive just because of how little laps they have.
Oh, definitely. You start getting a little bit of that desperation in there trying to make the A main. And you're going to start having some very interesting situations go on where people are just going to try to push just that little bit too hard, maybe make a mistake, and end up wrecking the guy in front of you. You also got to be careful with that because it's very possible that you could end up wrecking yourself if you end up wrecking somebody.
Absolutely. Well, to start this B main, Cody Boehm, Chud Bassett on the front row. 11 cars, only 5 make it. The green flag is out, and we are underway here at Bristol Motor Speedway here in this B main. The front 2 are even, and Cody Boehm going to be able to just edge him out there as now second place. Joaquin Meza trying to take that away.
Yeah, we have a wreck behind us.
Big wreck. David Hall
Looks
part
like he
of
either
that.
got loose or had a net code. I'm not sure which.
David Hall.
Big hard wreck.
See if David Hall had any help. Yeah, I think he just got loose, but we're going to officially check it out. Goes into the turn, and yep, just gets loose and nowhere to go for the 41 and the 99 of Aaron Ward. So Ray Page and Aaron Ward get caught up in that wreck as David Hall gets loose.
And it looks like David Hall ended up bottoming out just a little bit. If you get in close, he's got some sparks coming up from the bottom of the car when he makes it into the corner. That can happen with having either the ride height just a little bit too low or having the tire pressures just a little bit too low when it comes to starting out a run, and it may end up improving over time. That's one of those things that you might not catch if you're not looking at telemetry when you're making your setup. But he ends up hitting that bottom of the car in there, and it just gets him loose, and that's what ends up causing the big wreck.
Gonna put y'all on the screen real quick. My for some reason my HUD is not working, so we're gonna reload that for y'all.
Hopefully it'll show up this time. Oh, looks like they made a little contact in the back there.
I don't know why, but it did this last week as well, where my ticker stopped showing their names. I don't know why it did this last week too. It eventually worked, so let's hope it eventually works tonight.
Yeah, hopefully. All right, it looks like the lights are out on the pace car. I'm not sure if they're doing single file or Or
Yeah, it looks like they are. Yeah, that is
And that's
the
ultimately speaking, that's a bit of a savior to the guys that are supposed to start on the outside around here.
green flag is back out. Cody Boehm. Oh, and a rough start for Joaquin Meza as he falls back all the way to 5th now, and he is on that cut line. A horrible restart in that 2nd position.
Yeah, it looked like he just got caught napping in a way. I mean, everybody else seemed to get up to speed, but he must have just been just a little bit too late on the throttle, and the car just kind of bogged down. And then there he goes down 3 positions, all the way down to the cut spot. So he's got to be a little bit careful now. Doesn't want to cause any sort of wrecks.
Chad Bassett and Matt Geiss, the rest of the top 3. And Joaquin Meza working on the back bumper of Philip Manzo for that 4th position, but it's going to be tough to make a pass on that outside, but he's going to try it once again.
Yeah, and I think at this point, with how these races go, and how hard it is to pass, you may just want to kind of settle in here, take your 4th, and don't risk anything, because right now you're sort of in the place where you're going to be in the A main, and you might be able to do something with it there. But here, I mean, you're going to gain 1 position at the start of the race. But you want to be very careful with this if you're going to go for the move, because there's no sense in end up causing a wreck between both of you.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. Joaquin Meza, he is trying to make a move on the outside, but you are 5 seconds ahead of everybody else. So maybe, caution's out. Big wreck on the backstretch. 3 cars included Keith Lichtenwarner, Sean O'Connor, and Ray Page, all caught up in this wreck. And that is our 2nd caution, which is going to lead to a late race restart here in this B main.
Yeah, and that'll amp up the aggression just a little bit. You really need to be careful with your restart now. Make sure that you get a good one, or somebody could get to that bumper and we could end up having another caution because you turned around.
Oh, and he gets help, absolutely, as the 117 of Sean O'Connor makes contact with Ray Page, and that's going to collect Keith Lichtenwarner as well. And that is going to leave Mikey Keller out on track. So Mikey Keller is 6th. So there's only going to be 1 position now that's going to be fighting for that cut line.
Yeah, which means that Mikey might end up turning up the aggression here just a little bit. Hopefully he can try to fight for it. But I mean, I feel for Ray Page there. He sort of just got wrecked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. I mean, he just got turned. It looked like the guy behind him, I'm not sure exactly which one. It was Sean O'Connor, right?
Yep.
It looked like he was just trying to dive, made it a little bit too early, and then, I don't know, hit the apron and just kind of shoved up into him and wrecked him. And I mean, these things happen. Like I said, the aggression's up. Everybody's needing to get moving forward, and if you're stuck behind somebody who you think that you're faster than, especially in a situation like this, you've got to go. And he ended up just choosing kind of wrong with the timing on the move.
Yeah, if you're really all top 5, you just need to be careful. But specifically up near that lead, you cannot wreck trying to go for the win in the B main, because that can get you out of the main event. So if you're up front, or really maybe even in the 2nd row, you just got to get a good jump. And if you want to fight for a position, that's cool, but just don't be too aggressive, because if you wreck, like I said, you could be out instead of in, and instead of maybe starting 2nd to last in the main event. So everybody, but really Mikey Keller and Joaquin Meza. Obviously, Joaquin wants to get away from that 5th position. He wants to get up into 4th or 3rd in order to secure his spot, but at least everybody in front of him should be at least content with not battling if they don't have to.
Absolutely. And it's also something important to think about, that if you end up making contact with somebody and they spin, it appears that if you cause the wreck, you're getting an EOL. So you don't want to be the guy who ends up wrecking somebody and brings out the yellow, because you'll be right back there with them.
Absolutely. His pace car or the pace truck has its lights off, so we're going to go back to racing this time around, and maybe not the last, but potentially the last restart of the B main and the last chance for Mikey Keller to try to get into the main event in that 6th position right behind, or actually right on the outside, of Joaquin Meza. So those two are side by side, and we're going to see right now who makes it in. The green flag is out. Mikey Keller does not get a good jump at all, and he's going to fall back pretty far, and that leaves Joaquin Meza in that 5th position pretty comfortably.
Yeah, and it's just kind of unfortunate there for Keller. He just got kind of a bad start, and then just got swallowed up by some of the cars that are a lap down. And well, now I think his chances are kind of all but over unless a wreck ends up happening, because he's pretty far back now.
Yep, 2 laps to go this time by for these drivers here in this B main. Across the start-finish line, they need to get back to the white flag before a yellow comes out in order to not get an overtime finish, I believe. So Cody Boehm's going to try to do that through 3 and 4. He's going to come around, collect the white flag, 1 lap to go, as Cody Boehm has been in the lead this entire race and looks to comfortably make it in to the main race, but he is going to have a little bit of a battle for the lead with Chud Bassett behind him, but he is not able to get there, and across the start-finish line, a side-by-side finish. But Cody Boehm's going to finish first, and Joaquin Meza finishes 5th for that last spot.
Yeah, and I think Chud was just trying to make him sweat there just a little bit. You obviously don't want to make contact there, but if you can get him thinking about you a little bit before the start of the race, you could end up making him make a mistake for the A main. Who knows?
Yep. So they'll have a 2-minute warm up for this race, and we will be right back. All right, we are back. 49 seconds left, so we'll take that opportunity to go ahead and pull up the schedule for the series. As after tonight, just one more race left in the SK Modifieds before we get to halfway and we switch to the Wheel and Tour Modifieds, where we start that off with Nashville Fairgrounds. Lanier, USA, Stafford, Five Flags, and South Boston, all 125 laps. So William, out of Nashville, Lanier, USA, Stafford, Five Flags, and South Boston, which one are you looking forward to seeing these cars, these Wheel and Tour Modifieds at most?
Honestly, South Boston. That track is so tight and small. It's going to be a bit of a bull ring, to be honest with you. And so I'm looking forward to the very fast-paced and quite frankly a lot of contact in that race. So I'm looking forward to that one for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Five Flags is going to be a fun one. Nashville's also a fun track. I liked racing on that track. So looking forward to really all the races. But, South Boston as the last race of the season is definitely going to be an interesting race to watch, and a crazy place to finish off the series for the championship in, like we mentioned, the Wheel and Tour Modified. So one more week for these SKs at famed North Wilkesboro. So that's going to be an awesome race there.
Yeah, and we definitely have a lot of very fun tracks coming up. North Wilkes has always been a really fun track. It's got that retro kind of what is it, like 80s theme to it?
I believe it's 86 or 87.
Yeah, at the same time about as the old NASCARs, right? So it's about there. It's got that old aesthetic to it. It'll be really fun to watch a race around there. And then after that, we got a whole bunch of really good tracks coming up. So I'm looking forward to the future for us, especially when we're getting to the tour,
Uh-oh.
the touring SK or the touring modifieds.
I think my racing is messed up. Oh, no.
Oh no. Try clicking on a driver if you can.
I am. It's showing a lapse time at 1 second. My iRacing's frozen.
No. Yeah, you may need to close and restart.
I do. So.
All right. Well, I
That
guess
sucks.
I'm gonna be.
You have to radio it.
Yeah. All right. So the cars are rolling now. We have our pole sitter Kenneth Younts in the lead, followed by Kenny Younts. So we got is that brother and is it brothers or is it father and son?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I deal with so many like father-son combinations that I want to say that, but I'm not 100% sure.
All right, and now we have 1 to go. Let's see which works faster, Zach's computer or the cars getting around this track.
I don't think we want to be afraid of my computer. We want to be afraid of iRacing because it's saying, please close the simulator if you wish to launch a new session. Well, I am not in a simulator right now, so
check to see if it's in your if it's in your minimized tasks, if that makes or background tasks.
It is not iRacing simulator.
Yes, it is.
Which it shouldn't be.
Yeah. All right, so pace car is off. And green flag. Kenneth Younts actually gets a terrible start. Kenny ends up getting the lead going into turn 1. Nobody's wrecked so far.
Good news.
We're all starting to just equal out. A couple cars stuck in the top lane. All the top 5 have gotten singled out and are just looking to try to run a few laps here. Oh, and a wreck. Who was that?
We are 50% there.
If you want, I can share screen real quick. So
no, it's fine. We're at 60%, 60, 70. We're getting in there quick. Sorry about this, guys. My iRacing kind of just froze out of nowhere. So, here we go. All right, we are.
Yeah, so Tanner Marr was the one who caused the wreck. He hit the apron and just caused or just spun in front of the field, caused a wreck. Somebody flipped. Couple people, actually 2 people flipped. And it looks like a couple people are going to want a nice warm glass of milk after that one. It's really painful.
So it looks like Matt Geiss, Rusty Modesty, Mickey Isaac, and Logan Sturgeon, along with Chud Bassett, caught up in that, it looks like.
Yeah, a whole bunch of guys.
A couple of those guys. So Matt Geiss, Chud Bassett were in that B main, and so they get caught up in that early. And sorry, once again, apologize about that. My iRacing froze up out of nowhere, and so we're back in here. Only lap 4, so you didn't miss much. You did miss a wreck, but thankfully it only took a couple laps to get in here.
I was gonna hit you.
Yeah, and I'm sure we're not done seeing the wrecks around here. This track is pretty difficult, especially in these modifieds, to do much of anything with some of the runs. It's going to be a lot of trying to get good positioning on somebody tonight, I think, which means that there's going to be a lot of aggression. So I'm thinking that we're not done with the cautions for sure.
By the way, we'll just take a quick second while we're under caution to thank Magic Mike Motorsports for sponsoring the series. We'll lost our original sponsor early on, and so Magic Mike kind of swooped in and I guess you could say saved the day. So big shout out to Magic Mike Motorsports.
Yeah, big thanks to Mike. He's a really good guy. It doesn't look like he ended up joining the race tonight, or at least I don't see him in the driver list. But big thanks to him.
As we are awaiting the lights to shut off on the pace car so we can get that 1 to go and get back to racing here at Bristol. 125 laps here tonight in the Wednesday Modified Series. If you're just tuning in, you missed a B main where we had 5 drivers who had to race into tonight's main event and did so. That was Matt Geiss, Chud Bassett, Joaquin Meza, Philip Manzo, and Cody Boehm all raced into tonight's event. And unfortunately, Matt Geiss and Chud Bassett already a part of a pretty big wreck here early on. So we're going to see if they can get back out there. They are actually right now, but a lap down at least. So they're going to have to work their way back. But with it being Bristol, you definitely have a chance with getting lucky dogs.
Yeah, you definitely have a lot of chances to get those laps back around here. So the important thing now is just to try to stay out of trouble. Unfortunately, they got caught up in a wreck early, which means that their race isn't always going to be going to plan here. So, but that's sort of just how things end up working when you start towards the back. Sometimes you just can't avoid the wrecks here.
Single file restart here as the green flag is back out. Kenny Younts in the lead. Kenneth Younts behind him. Garrett Kinder, Christian Dedman, Scotty Stevens, your top 5. Casey Kuntz, Kevin Dowd, Harold Rothery, Ryan Bean, and Michael Swink, your top 10 as of now. And Kenny Younts gets a nice restart along with Kenneth right behind him.
Yeah, and for sure those guys are going to be wanting to just
wrecking behind
get
him.
Some laps.
As Chud Bassett involved in another wreck, unfortunately.
All right, let's see what happened to him.
Going into the turn, here is the 04 of Chud Bassett coming out of the turn. And, they just check up. So Logan Sturgeon a part of that wreck. And we're going to go back to Logan Sturgeon and check out what happened because it looked like he was in more of the beginning of the wreck. Just a teeny bit of contact between him and Philip Manzo, it looks like. And that sends those cars around.
Yeah, it looks like there's a little bit of net code between him and Manzo, but Manzo hit that apron and ended up coming up the track, which got the spin happening. So unfortunate, but these are sometimes the things that happen when you are doing iRacing.
Yeah, no kidding. iRacing, one of the bigger things is net code. At least what people like to use anytime they wreck somebody, but sometimes it is true and sometimes it's not, and you just kind of got to figure that out for yourself. But definitely when you're on an online service, that's something that can happen.
Oh, it makes a good excuse, though, doesn't it? It's surely not that I made the mistake and I was the one who did the bad thing.
I didn't hit you.
It's the game's fault. Yes.
As we await our second restart of tonight's race, 2 cautions here early, and there's no doubt that, even if you have 2 cautions early, you can definitely rebound. As we saw in the Xfinity Series last Friday, they had a good amount of cautions in the first half of the race and then go 70 laps green flag. It's a little bit harder to do here at Bristol, but it's definitely doable. And even if you have a decent amount of cautions to start off, you can always make up for it and eventually get a bunch of green flag laps.
And my dad got caught out by that race when they ended up having that really long green flag run, because he was betting that there was going to be another caution at some point there, and it just sort of didn't end up working out that way. So he ended up getting bit by this strategy, and that's kind of the risk that you play when you just assume that there's going to be another caution. And I mean, these things happen with strategy, so you can't always expect it to go your way, but it'll be on to the next one for him.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you're racing, you're usually going to have some strategy, unless it's your local short track racing where the only strategy is to go fast and, make positions. But in iRacing, when you're doing these Xfinity or even these SK modified races, there's definitely strategy that's a part of it. And sometimes you just don't make the right call, and it's not always on it's on you for not making the right call, but when you're racing, you have to sometimes get lucky and things fall into your favor and things like that. You expect a caution and it just doesn't come out and you get unlucky, but that's just a part of racing.
Yeah, there's not always stuff that you can do about it. Sometimes you just really fall on the bad side. You just have to make the best decision that you can at the time. Sometimes that may be just actually taking the chance because you may not be able to get the win otherwise, and sometimes it might just be you can't bet on the caution and you just have to play it like it's going to go green.
The green flag is back out. Kenny Younts and Kenneth Younts are side by side. Kenneth Younts going to be able to beat him into turn one, so the outside works, and maybe they work together for that to happen to make sure that Kenneth Younts gets to the inside, and that's going to prove here as Christian Dedman's stuck on the outside in a spin. Garrett Kinder.
Right. Oh, and that's going to pile up quite a few people with where that was.
Garrett Kinder is rolling currently, so I'm not sure how many people that actually caught up.
Nobody.
As
actually,
he hits the apron and a little bit of contact behind him, but they're still able to keep going on. Garrett Kinder gets it back straight and not really any damage to that car, so it hurts him because he has to go to the back or near the back, but at least he didn't damage his car.
Yeah, I mean, I think he can consider himself lucky with that. Sometimes you'll end up having people go to the apron to try to avoid, but he ended up getting lucky. Nobody else ended up getting caught up in it. And overall, his car's still fine. So gets to keep that fast repair on him. Maybe hurt his pride just a little bit, but that's sometimes that can be for the better. Maybe it'll make you drive a little bit more safely, which will keep you from wrecking again. But yeah, Garrett's kind of put himself into a little bit of a difficult situation with where he's at.
Yeah, he hit the apron a little bit as he was coming out of the turn, and when he clipped it, it upset his car and spun him around, and that's one thing you really can't do anywhere you go is hit that apron because, when you're in the turn, it's banked, and the apron is not as banked, and so, or if it, at all banked. So when the left side of your car hits that, it upsets your car and can spin it around.
Yeah, it's all about precision when you have a lot of high banking. You really want to be careful not to hit that apron because that will upset the car and you'll get shoved up the track, or you'll end up hitting it in such a way that'll end up making you spin out. So you just need to be careful with that and be a little bit more precise and just try to not have that happen. And if it does, you have to be really quick on your hands to make sure that you don't end up wrecking it.
Yeah, and that's the tough thing with Bristol, though, is these other tracks, you usually have a line in between the racetrack and the apron, and here at Bristol, you really don't. It's just the track and the apron kind of blend into each other, and so when you're running that low line, sometimes you're trying to run as best of a low line as you can, and since there's no gap in between, you end up hitting that apron.
Yeah, I mean, your line around here is pretty much just the transition from asphalt to concrete on the track. That's kind of just what you're trying to aim for. Just don't tip it or you're going to have a bad time.
Yeah, the only thing I will say, though, about that, the difference in banking between the track and the apron is if you're spinning out, maybe you get hit. The difference in level there can actually sometimes help you collect your car. I had a race in a different league like 2 or 3 years back that I still remember the save. I got hit because I had to check up on the front stretch, and I spun out into the turn and used that banking and the non-banking on the apron to actually save the car. So there's very few times when you make contact with that apron that it actually helps you, but there is a chance.
Yeah, sometimes it can end up helping you out and just making your job of saving the car just a little bit easier, for sure.
Absolutely. The green flag's back out. Christian Dedman, who was stuck on the outside of Garrett Kinder, now on the inside in the third position with Casey Kuntz and Scotty Stevens behind him, rounding out the top 5. Kenneth Younts and Kenny Younts continue to work together, and they maintain those top 2 spots.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to try to control the race, because if we can get some green flag laps in here, they're going to be able to count down those laps very quickly with us only having 15.5 second lap times. They're going to be trying real hard to just control this race, not really fight between the two, just stay within each other and maybe pull away if their setup's good enough.
Yeah, this track, it doesn't matter what car you run, you're always going to have quick laps just because of how short the track is. And wow, we have this kind of 4-car pack here, and I thought that Scotty Stevens might make contact with Casey Kuntz because they were extremely close, but thankfully he keeps it off of him because if you make the wrong contact, it can spin somebody out. But I think that is one thing we're going to see here tonight is the bump and run, especially with the bottom being the line that these guys are running. It's a lot easier to execute a bump and run than if you were on the top.
Yeah, and kind of doing a bump and run around here is going to be really risky because you're pretty much always on throttle, which means the car is always just a little bit on edge. So you want to be really careful if you do it. You have to trust the guy that you're going to hit is going to be able to save it. And it's looking like Harold Rothery is getting a little bit impatient back here. Just looking for a little bit of a hole to open up and then try to see if he can put the nose in there. And if he can, that's almost a certain position for you.
Oh, as Harold does get, and he's going to make contact. Scotty Stevens around in the wall. And that brings out our third caution of the night.
Yeah, he just got a little bit too aggressive and went for a hole that wasn't really there. I guess he could use the old Senna argument of if you don't go for a gap, then you're no longer a racing driver. But let's not forget that Senna was defending himself from wrecking then. So it's kind of a similar situation here, just not enough room and big wreck for
I will say a good move from Scotty Stevens. Yeah, a good move from Scotty Stevens. You don't always see it, but when he hits that wall, he holds the brake because if he doesn't, he is going to absolutely demolish a lot of those people on that inside line. So, nice job by him. From it's a sucky circumstance, but you're in it, so at least hold the brakes so you don't come down from the banking and run into those people on that inside line.
Absolutely. Locking the brakes is one of the most important things about when you're wrecking, because you're recognizing that this isn't going to be something that you can really save. And it just makes it to where your car is way more predictable and you're going to be able to keep it out of the line where everybody's coming through to try to avoid you. And if he didn't do that, I mean, there was going to be a very big wreck. His car was probably going to be absolutely toasted. And who knows if he is going to be able to get it back into pit road before the engine blew, or if he's going to get stuck on his lid. So good job on him. Very, very heads up play there. And doesn't look like he has too terribly much damage, but it is definitely time to go get that fast repair.
My father let me know that it wasn't just me. A lot of people were reporting freezing on iRacing. So thanks, iRacing.
Wonderful service. $110 a year.
But thankfully we were able to get back in and we are racing here at Bristol. Thankfully none of our drivers, I guess, got a freezed iRacing, and they're able to race here tonight as we are just only 33 laps into a 125 lap race here tonight. Again, one more week left of these SK Modifieds at North Wilkesboro, and then we head to the Wheel and Tour Modifieds. So if you've been tuning in, thank you, and make sure to continue as we still have a lot of racing left in this series and a completely different car in 2 weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Once we get to those touring cars, we're going to have a lot more power under there, and I think we're going to be seeing some different people start to show up a little bit more once they can start using a little bit more of their abilities to show how much they can mitigate the wheel spin on the car. So that'll be very interesting once we get to those. See if we might end up having a little bit of a grid shakeup.
Also, if you're a fan of Bristol, make sure to tune in tomorrow night as well for another Thunderstruck Super Series night of racing in the super late models here at Bristol Motor Speedway. So 2 nights in a row of Bristol, and then obviously, well, not obviously, but Saturday we'll have Bristol as well. But we'll talk about that the later we get into the week. But yeah, make sure to tune in tomorrow night as well for the late models here, super late models. as
And
the
late models are really fun, so it should be pretty good show.
pace truck pulls off. The
Oh,
green flag is out. Check up from the outside line of Kenny Younts. And we are stacked up back here in the middle of the pack, side by side, 2 or 3 rows deep, as these guys are just trying to get to that inside line as quickly as possible.
yeah, and Kenny was just caught sleeping there. I'm a little surprised because we thought that they were working together, but I guess not. And well, now he's into third, and he's got Christian Deadman in front of him, and I don't know if he's going to have a fast enough car to maybe keep Kenny behind him, but we'll definitely see here.
Contact to the 6th. The caution flag going to fly, and some more contact between the 6 of Rusty Modesty. Makes some contact with some other drivers. They were side by side going into the turn, so I decided to go check them out, and unfortunately a wreck happens, and looks like Garrett Kinder caught a little bit of it, but I don't know if that'll be enough damage. Let's check it out.
It looks like Rusty got net coated a little bit here by the 30 of who is the 30? Sorry, of Michael Swink, and it just got a little bit of that net code when Michael came just a little bit up. They and then I mean that's kind of all that it really could end up happening, and then we end up having everybody sort of just pile in after that.
Yeah, we just talked about locking the brakes down, and that was kind of a situation of didn't lock the brakes up immediately, and he will come down and hit some other drivers.
Yeah, and he's got a blown engine for it now, so he's going to need to kind of just coast that thing into pit road, maybe nurse it if it still has a couple RPM left in it, but it's definitely time to go get that fast repair.
Yeah, he's in pit road right now. I think he had to tow because he's sitting there, and if he used that quick repair, obviously he'd be out already. So unless he's getting fuel, he probably had to tow, and that is very unfortunate here at Bristol because even the caution laps go by quickly, around 47 seconds right now for these drivers. So if it can take up to 2 minutes to tow, you're going to lose at least 2 to 3 laps.
Yeah, at least he made it back to pit road. I'm wondering if he's getting tires, though. After having a spin, those things could be lit up.
I haven't seen him lift either side.
Yeah. I wonder how many repairs he has, because it's not smoking on him anymore, if you notice. But.
Yeah. Well, Kenny Younts had an unfortunate restart, but with having that bad start, it actually gets him into a better position as he's in third now, so he's going to start right behind Kenneth and should be able to follow him in a second.
Yeah, and so long as he gets a good restart here, he should be able to stay right on his bumper and get right past Christian again. It's just all a question of how good of a restart Christian gets as well. If Christian can keep it in there, maybe get a better restart than Kenny, maybe he keeps the position, but he has to get to that inside before Kenny can get there. Just this track is pretty low line dominated at the moment because of the momentum nature of the SK modifieds.
Do you think if we were here in the Wheel and Tour modifieds, they would run the bottom as well with more power? I
think that they'd be running the bottom, but there definitely at least be a little bit of lifting. With that more power, the car just doesn't have enough downforce really in it to be able to hold the car to the track as well. So when you have that little bit more power, it makes the car just go into the corner faster, and you have to sort of prepare for it.
So, what for viewers? So if we run the trucks here, the Cup Car Xfinity, you usually see those cars run at least the middle line. So, what's the difference? What's the difference that makes these cars run the low line and then those cars really run the middle to high?
Pretty much the weight and the downforce, really. These cars have a surprisingly high amount of downforce for something that kind of has open wheels with no front wing. And they're relatively light cars, and they're not as fast as, say, a NASCAR Truck Series car or a Busch car sorry, Xfinity car.
Oh,
or
we're 3 wide. We're
a,
wrecking. Ryan Bean,
Oh,
Garrett
they're
Kinder,
right.
Tanner Marr. Sorry, I wasn't going to interrupt you, but I saw 3 wide, and I was like, that cannot end well, and it did not.
Oh yeah, I mean, 3 wide at this early is not gonna work yet. So that's just unfortunate. But it's definitely one of those things of I think this track actually could probably support 3 wide with these cars. I mean, the guy on the outside is not going to be very happy. But,
I think it was netcode again. Unless there was just a little bit of tire contact that I did not see there. We're going to see it here.
It's either just...
Yep, netcode again.
Oh,
unfortunate.
Yeah, nothing that they can really do with that. It's just...
Well, there is something you can do. You can not go 3 wide at Bristol.
Yeah, I mean, that's also an option. that is definitely an option. I mean, 3 wide doesn't really work even in NASCARs where you're running that high line. But yeah, I guess back to the point, right? These cars are just lighter and a little bit slower, with a little bit more downforce than the NASCARs. So you have it to where the cars aren't really necessarily sliding as much, and they're also entering the corner just a little bit slower. So they're able to kind of stick a little better. So once you start adding things in, like more horsepower, and the cars start sliding around, that's when you start seeing people start to gravitate up towards the top of the track here.
Yeah, and with Bristol, it may look like there's a lot of room in the turn, but with how this track works, your car loves to glide up as you go into the turn when you dive into it, and so you may be able to support 3 wide into it, but as soon as one car slides up just a little too much, that 3 wide obviously just does not work out.
No, you can definitely fit 3 cars into the corner, but no guarantee you're ever going to make it out of one. It's definitely a worry if you put it into that situation. And I mean, I feel for Michael Swink because he was on the outside there, and he was caught up in a wreck before. So it's kind of a situation of he was just trying to make up some positions and maybe tried to bite off just a little bit more than he could chew. And I mean, unfortunately for him, he got caught up in another one. Yeah, I mean, I can't necessarily stop it if fire alarm ends up happening here either. It's just one of those things of sometimes when that goes off, you just gotta kind of grin and bear it and be like, I'm sorry.
As we are lined back up 2 by 2, ready to go back racing here at Bristol, and we will go back racing on that lap 50. So it looks like your front 2 is Kenneth Younts and Christian Dedman, with Kenny Younts right behind him in third. Is great restart by both Younces, and they're going to be able to, it looks like, occupy those top 2 positions.
Yeah, and a big shout out here to Josh Oswald. Started P15, now looking at P3. Very, very good race for him so far. He's just managed to keep it out of trouble.
Wrecking.
And getting positions, and they're wrecking. That one actually did look like contact this time.
Oh, yeah, there was absolutely contact.
The 90 of Kevin Dowd just kind of came up there and big old wreck.
Coming into the turn, we talk about how your car likes to glide up, and right there it did. And, I mean, if netcode didn't happen, I still think they would have made contact, but it does look like there was a little bit. But regardless, he comes up into him, and that contact is going to bring another caution out, some contact with another driver as well. And that car, hopefully he has a quick repair, because that car is pretty messed up for Casey Kuntz.
Yeah, that's just unlucky, right? Like, You're kind of just trying to run your line. You're stuck on that outside. No problem. But you're stuck on that outside. You're trying to just find a place to get in line after one of these restarts, and then I mean, you kind of just have the guy come up a little bit off the bottom and make contact with you. Not much that you can really do. Maybe I guess give him just a little bit more room, but there's not very much room to be had here at a short track.
Yeah, and especially when that inside line is most dominant, that outside line, they're going to stay as low as they can to kind of contain that person on the inside line. And if that person does come up a little bit, that's when you can really get that contact, and it's kind of unavoidable at that point. So, I mean, Bristol and its toughness is showing up tonight. Currently only 12 people on the lead lap, as Garrett Kinder is the first car a lap down, looking to eventually get that lucky dog.
Yeah, and I think he's just got to be as safe as can be, and hopefully doesn't get caught up in somebody else's mess. Because if he does, then he's not getting that lucky dog.
As Kenneth Younts and Kenny Younts done a really nice job here tonight. I know it's been kind of caution-filled, but still done a nice job at maintaining those top two spots and controlling the rest of the field.
Yeah, and they seem to be the class of the field tonight. Both of them, they probably worked with their setups together, because I'm pretty sure they're related in some way at least. But they have just been really, really fast all night so far. They've even been able to pull away when we had some green flag runs. But now that Josh Oswald is all the way up to third, I mean, that's from 15th. He's been a hard charger, so who knows what he'll be able to do now that he's out in some, I guess, moderately clean air.
Yeah, Oswald, big mover tonight, like you mentioned. Also, Joaquin Meza, Chud Bassett, and Cody Boehm, all drivers who were a part of that B main, all inside the top 12 now, which the top 12 is the lead lap. So they've done a nice job making it into this race and staying on the lead lap.
Yeah, the goal is to try to just stay out of trouble, right? So you got to be careful with it. Green flag.
Yep, the green flag is back out. Kind of a big stack up behind him as Kevin Dowd stacks up, and behind him, close racing.
Oh, there's a wreck. I'm not sure if we're going to get a caution for it, but there was somebody around.
Casey Kuntz. Yeah, I saw someone go to the inside, and I guess they did make contact like I thought they might, as, it looks like...
they're going to be coming up on the leaders here real quick. Oh, they got to make a hole. Oh, my. Well, that stacked up the field.
As Josh Oswald going to try to take advantage of it in third. He's not going to be able to, as the top two are able to maintain those spots. But that does stack this field up a lot more.
Yeah, and I guess that kind of equalizes the restart there after Kenneth had a really, really good start. That kind of separated the top three pretty well. But, well, once you catch up to some lap traffic who are off the pace, still trying to recover from an incident, these things can happen.
That's one thing we really haven't talked about tonight, because we haven't really had to. But if we can get enough green flag laps, lap traffic is definitely something that these leaders are going to have to deal with. And
they're coming up on another one.
There's lap traffic. And Rusty Modesty in the 6 is, once that lap traffic starts to come into play, if they don't want to play nice because they want to try to keep that lap, that's when it can really start to be tough for these leaders. But right now they've done a nice job at getting through that lap traffic, specifically the ones that wrecked. So if we keep going green here, we're going to get closer to seeing these guys have to get through some lap traffic, and that's when we can maybe see a move for the lead.
Yeah, and when you're fighting for keeping your lead lap, which is obviously a very important thing to do, when you're fighting for that lead lap, you're kind of just fighting a losing battle in a way. You're just kind of hoping that you can kind of stack some people up, and maybe they'll end up wrecking behind you, and you'll be able to keep that lap as the caution comes out.
Speaking of fighting, Josh Oswald fighting off Christian Dedman every way he can to maintain that top three, and behind him, Christian Dedman, Kevin Dowd, and Tanner Marr. Tanner Marr, part of a couple of wrecks tonight, done a nice job at fighting back all the way to the 6th position. I thought he might look below Kevin Dowd, but he is not able to, and probably a good thing he didn't, because they might have made contact.
Yeah, and I'm thinking Tanner's looking a little bit aggressive here. Obviously, you have to go for the move when you can get it, but gotta be very careful around here. You gotta get that nose in there before you make the corner, because they're just gonna turn in, and that might cause a big wreck. I don't think we do minimum speed, right?
No, I don't think so. But we're past halfway now, so we're starting to get those green flag laps as we're getting down to the back half of the race, and we're going to see how long it lasts. Bristol's a tough place to get those long green flag runs, but right now they're doing a nice job at it.
Yeah, I think this is the longest green flag run that we've had so far. It'll be nice to see what these cars can do once the tires start to heat up and start to get a little bit of wear on them. Who knows where they're all going to be stacking up towards the end.
Great move by Tanner Marr. He kind of showed us there how you're supposed to do it in terms of passing somebody on the inside. He set him up off the exit of 4 and just quickly moved down to the inside and took that spot away from Kevin Dowd. So that moves him into the top 5, and he's going to look to try to do the same to Christian Dedman and possibly Josh Oswald.
Yeah, Kevin Dowd was kind of showing the inside to him just a little bit there, which may or may not have been on purpose, probably not on purpose, but he was just showing him just that little bit of the inside, and sometimes that's all you really need to justify going for a move.
Right now our top 2 just about a second ahead of 3rd place Josh Oswald, and they're not going to race each other, it looks like, for a while, just to get themselves away from the rest of the field as much as possible and then race it out at the end so that it's only between them 2.
Yeah, these guys have some fast cars. I'm wondering if they're going to be really this fast once we get runs going, or once we get just a little bit further in the race. I mean, I say get a little bit further in the race, but we're lap 73 of 125 at this point. These laps just tick down so quick around here.
Yeah, they really do. Almost coming to 50 laps to go now in this race. And yeah, when you're in a series like this where you just do short tracks, that's really when, races can go by quick every single week, just because you're only running about half-mile tracks, maybe even quarter-mile at specific tracks. But usually you're seeing about half-mile or so, and when you're running half-mile tracks at 125 laps, it can go by pretty quick, whether you have a lot of cautions or not.
Certainly, and with these kind of tracks, I mean, it's kind of a sprint, really. Once you get those green flags out, you just got to go. You just got to get it as fast as you can in terms of just pushing as hard as you can, because these races aren't very long, right? You can generally keep up the pace for about 30 minutes if you're pushing pretty hard, which with how short these laps are, you can probably do that. As we wave again to the number 6 car. I think he's down on power at this point. I think that's the 5th time that we've seen him so far.
Hey, at least he's sticking it out as you see Josh Oswald, Christian Dedman, and Tanner Marr go by him as Christian sees Tanner Marr right behind him, and contact between the 2. They're able to keep it straight. That was close, and that's going to bring Kevin Dowd right back into this battle.
Yeah, certainly. You definitely want to end up seeing it to where you can just get a little bit of chaos in front of you. Not so much as to where they're wrecking, but just enough to where they're starting to slow down and bring them back to you. When you have those checkups, that's sort of where you're just looking at like, okay, they've lost momentum. Now's my chance to try to get in there and do something. Unfortunately, it's just a little bit too far back for that. And it looks like they're starting to pull away again now that they've kind of sorted things out. But yeah, that's definitely what you're looking for if you're back there for it.
Christian Dedman, he looked to the outside of Josh Oswald, and with Tanner Marr right behind him, that opened the door for Tanner, and Tanner took it, and Christian closed that door pretty late, but luckily they were able to make contact and somehow keep it straight, and that has giving Josh Oswald just a little bit of a bigger gap over those two than it was before. So that gives him a little bit of ease of mind from behind. But we'll see if Christian Dedman and Tanner Marr are able to catch back up.
I think Christian's gonna start wearing out his welcome here with Tanner in a minute. If you keep shutting that door too many times, eventually the guy's just gonna say, okay, well, I'm not gonna lift if you're gonna do that. So you gotta be pretty careful with it. Oh my gosh, it's looking like we got some mobile chicanes here today. Got some road course racing.
Oh, caution is out. Matt Geiss is in pit road, but I don't think that's due to a wreck. Rusty Modesty is that 6, who we've seen him down on power, it looks like. So he is in pit road, so we're going to see what happened here. Oh, no.
Yeah.
As he had someone slow in front of him. Oh, yeah, someone in the wall in front of him, and unfortunately they end up making contact and into the wall. Big wreck.
Whoa.
Looks like
the
71 of Harold Rothery. No, I don't know if that was. Is that Harold Rothery?
No, it was Cody.
No, it wasn't.
Boehm. Yeah, Cody
Oh,
Boehm.
Cody Boehm. There we are. I couldn't tell if it was 71 or 78. The
And it looks like he
lettering.
just hooked a right. I'm not sure if he just got really loose entering or what. I'd say go for an onboard to see what happens.
All right. We'll have to bump this back.
Yeah, I think he got loose and then just way overcorrected it.
We'll go check that out for the viewers. See on board what happened. Hits the apron and gets loose. We talked about that apron, and that's eventually what happened.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that apron, especially in these cars, since they're so momentum based and you're not off throttle. Any little bit of just disturbance in what you're doing can sometimes really jink that car, and you got to be really careful with how you try to save it.
Well, we got a decent little green flag run there, and really what we learned from it is if anybody wants to make a move on either Younts, they have to do it on these restarts.
Yeah, they definitely have the class of the field when it comes to the cars. I bet that they put in quite a bit of effort this week for Bristol here, and it's clearly paying off because they are way faster, it seems, than anybody else. It also doesn't hurt that they haven't really been having to fight each other. They've sort of just been kind of working together in a way of just not really doing anything to slow each other down.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting thing to look out for. The later we get into this race is who has the better car between them two, because like you mentioned, we've seen them laid back, not racing each other. Does Kenny Younts have a better car and he's just not racing him? Because while both of them do run away, Kenny Younts is able to stick with him. It's not like Kenneth Younts really runs away with it altogether.
I think that they have pretty similar setups here, so I would imagine their degradation is pretty equal. So the cars should be relatively the same speed. The question is just how much either of them are really putting in terms of steering angle, and whether or not that's going to end up affecting the amount of wear that's on the car, or whether or not sometimes that wear can end up being a blessing in a way in terms of how the handling model works.
The pace truck is off. The green flag is out. Josh Oswald gets a nice jump, but not good enough, as Kenny Younts is going to be clear, and he's actually going to look to the outside. He maybe thinks it's time to go, as those two, if they start battling, Josh Oswald going to put himself into this battle.
Well, that was a little bit dangerous there from Kenny. He was looking like he wanted to go through the apron there, which is gonna be a problem.
Oh, turning behind him, Christian Dedman. He closed the door on Tanner Marr, and the door could not be closed.
No caution here yet, so watch for some cars getting back up to speed as the leaders come through.
You talked about how he couldn't keep closing that door, so to speak, and it looked like Tanner Marr did get below him, and Dedman came down into him. But that's just from what I think I saw. We might have to check that out if we have another caution.
Yeah, I can actually check for us real quick. That's the beauty of
Oh,
having
as
two
we have
cautions.
another wreck back here on the apron, though, so I'm not sure if it'll bring out a caution. Judd Bassett turned around, and oh, that might bring out a caution right there. Nope, we are still green as the 04 gets going, and right in front of the leaders.
Oh dear. You never like it when it's right in front of the leaders because there's always a little bit of confusion as to where the fast cars are going to go. And I mean, it looks like they made it through okay. But back to Christian, he kind of did just come down. You are pretty right on that. I mean, car low. you gotta listen to your spotter.
As Kenny Younts right on the back bumper. I don't think he's sitting anymore. If there's a hole that he can dive down to, he is going to try to take this lead away as they are bumper to bumper right now and running away from Josh Oswald.
Kenny wants that lead back here. I think he had it for just a little bit at the start of the race, and he's wanting it back. He's gonna probably cause a little bit of an argument at the dinner table though if he doesn't do it cleanly.
That's always the worry on iRacing if you do it with relatives is, yeah, that dinner table conversation not always pleasant if you wreck somebody you know.
Yeah, and I mean, believe me, I've made contact with my dad, and he likes talking about it every time. He still talks about when I gave him the bumper at Martinsville.
Oh man. Will we see the use of the bumper here tonight? Caution is out, so we are going to have another restart. Joaquin Meza is down pit road. I'm not sure if that is a part of this caution or not, but we're going to find out here.
No, it was not Joaquin.
No, he just came down to pit road, got tires, fuel probably.
Actually, don't see who it was. Oh, there is somebody around on my screen. Let's see if I can figure out who exactly that is.
Shoot, I'm trying to find it too.
The 71 Harold Rothery. Oh, did he get help? No, he just hit the apron, self-spin, and then got hit by the 76.
And Garrett Kinder, unfortunately, gets some of that. We're going to see it here. I'm not sure how far I backed up, so we could be waiting a couple laps.
I mean, you go back 30 seconds too far, and that's like 2.5 laps.
Right. I'm really not sure where it happened. I guess I backed up way too much on something. Oh, there we go. Spins around, and Garrett Kinder nowhere to go. Very unfortunate for Kinder.
Yeah, and I mean, the only thing that Kinder really could have done there was, I guess, kind of jink up and hope that he doesn't hit the wall, but I mean, that's not always a given that that's going to work. And in some ways, you can end up making it worse for yourself than just taking a little bit of the front end damage.
He did have someone out to his outside, so that was just a tough place to be for Garrett. And a place like Bristol, that's just what can happen sometimes. No way to avoid the wreck. And, you know, you always can look at it from our point of view or after the fact for him and think, oh, I should have done this differently. But when you're in the moment at Bristol, it can be tough to make that right choice on just a split second.
Yeah, split-second decisions, you can't necessarily blame somebody so long as they made a choice. I mean, there's not always an option that you really have. It's sometimes just choosing from what's worse or what's still bad. It's just one of those situations of you got to figure out what to do, and sometimes you just choose wrong in those very, very, very fast decisions that you have to make because you don't really get time to think. You just have time to react.
As we are coming down to almost 20 laps to go here at Bristol. The lights are off on the pace truck, and we are going to restart with 21 laps to go. And, I mean, once again, there's a couple of questions here. Can someone beat a Younts on this restart? And then between the two Younces, Kenneth and Kenny, which one is going to come out on top? You know, maybe earlier on in the race they were letting each other know when they're going to go. Maybe not. Maybe not so now with 21 laps to go.
Yeah, I think that they still probably want to work together just a little bit. there's not very many laps left, but it's better to have somebody that you know is probably not going to try to wreck you behind you than somebody who's very hungry for a win, like Josh Oswald here, who's coming from 15th. And it looks like he got an okay start, but not enough to really do anything with, and the Younces are back out in front.
You got to think maybe these guys back here, specifically, I mean, Josh Oswald, who's moved up 12 spots, he's dealt with battling. These top two have not. They don't know, maybe they do from practice, but in this race session itself, they don't know exactly what it feels like to be racing side by side into the turn as much as these other drivers do, and maybe that could benefit one of these drivers behind them if those two start to battle and it takes them too long for one driver to pass the other.
Oh, for sure. Having that little bit of background knowledge to build off of when you're trying to think of what to do for a move is always important, because you can practice all that you want on an empty racetrack, but that never prepares you for when you have other cars around you. And making that move, not knowing exactly what to look for because you haven't really fought for it, can be difficult.
This is definitely the Younces' races to lose. I don't think anybody is catching, if they, obviously if they don't make a mistake themselves, I don't think anybody's catching them. Josh Oswald is pretty close here though, but as long as they don't wreck each other or spin, solo spin, I think they have at least this top two locked up. It's just which one is going to finish in first.
Yeah, and they're definitely really close to each other, but if Josh Oswald tries to end up going for a move here, I mean, that'll just straight up give Kenneth the win. But if Kenny tries to go for it and Oswald is close enough, there's a very real possibility that Oswald could end up taking a second here.
It is coming down to the finish here at Bristol. 14, coming to 13 laps to go for these drivers, and for Kenneth Younts to get to that win. Sorry, I thought we were coming to the front stretch. Now 13 laps to go, and 13 laps, I mean, we're running 15-second laps, so very close to the end, but at least for Kenneth, it's probably going to feel like an eternity just because he's probably just waiting for that caution to come out.
Oh, these are going to be some of the longest 13 laps of Bristol he's ever done. When you're in that lead and you know that there's just a tiny little bump away from having you wreck from the guy behind you, that you can start getting that heart beating, the adrenaline starts coming in. You're starting to think, I can do this, I can win this. But time's going to start slowing down because you're thinking a little bit too hard, right? You're starting to think about, I don't know, what you can do with somebody behind you, just trying to defend that, or I don't know, maybe in the case of Kenneth, maybe he's thinking about the donuts he's going to do.
Yeah, sorry about that. I believe Ryan Bean is on it. Yeah, he's on a 2-win streak. He's back here in the 5th position, so right now not looking like he's going to be able to make it 3 in a row, but he's still going to be able to get maybe a nice top 5 finish.
Yeah, definitely. And these are the kind of days that you kind of want going for you, right? Like you've had quite a few good weeks in a row, and the success isn't always going to stay. You never know when the success will end up stopping. But it's a great situation when your bad days are P5.
Yeah, absolutely. You're not going to win every race. It's like you said, it's what you do in the races that you're not able to win, and he's doing a really nice job in 5th, and even has an opportunity back here to get to 4th, as we might have a battle for the lead to the outside, Kenny Younts, but these cars are just really not fast enough to carry enough momentum for that outside to work unless you're already side by side with them.
Yeah, I think he's trying to build just that little bit extra momentum out of the corner, but I'm not sure if the tires have really had enough to where the inside is having to let up even at all. So I'm not sure if that momentum that he's building is really even going to be completely worth it.
4 laps to go here at Bristol Motor Speedway. There's a battle for the final position in the podium. Tanner Marr trying to crack into that top 3. Josh Oswald holding him off nicely right now, but the battle for the lead continues. Kenny Younts trying to find a gap to try to take the lead away from Kenneth. as we go down to 3 laps to go. It's going to be a younce battle to the end.
Yeah, these guys have had the class of the car or the class of the field the entire night, and there's just no real challenge for them, really. They've just had the best cars.
Absolutely.
Very, very good job on their part when it comes to building that setup this week.
Coming around 3 and 4 to collect the white flag. 1 lap to go for Kenneth Younce to collect the victory. Not sure there's anything for Kenny Younce to do. All Kenneth has to do is just execute on these laps. Do not give him the inside. Coming into 3 and 4, he goes to the high line. To the bottom is Kenny Younce. Kenny's going to steal it in the last turn.
I'm not really sure what Kenneth was thinking there, but okay. Kenny wins.
Okay.
I think he kind of just gave him that one, really. A happy birthday, I guess.
Well, we'll be able to find out for sure when we get these interviews going. But first, we're going to... Oh, no.
Does the engine still run? Can it still do burnouts?
Oh, man. I don't think these cars can do burnouts. Yeah, that motor's...
I've done it at Phoenix in these things.
That motor is toast. That motor is toast. All right.
Yeah, I mean,
oh man. So we're going to go ahead and get him in here. Hey, Kenny, Zach, and Will in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. Got a good copy. How about me?
Oh, yeah, you're good. So, man, what a last lap. Take us through it.
Man, that's my dad. He doesn't make a whole lot of mistakes, you know. He's hard to race with. Been racing with him since I was a kid. And he said his right front was giving out. We've been running hard the whole race. His right front was giving out, he said. And I guess he just slid up the track right there on that last corner.
Yeah, and you guys must have done a lot of work with the setup this week, because you guys were definitely class of the field tonight.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we spent a lot of time working that setup. We got a really good setup team and underfunded. So we spent a lot of time. You know, we tried to use Bristol and the SK Modified, try to make it seem like a super speedway kind of, and see if we could build a setup that way, and turned out to be pretty successful.
Well, congratulations on your win.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you got any shout-outs, sponsors you want to throw out there?
Yeah, just my dad, Underfunded Motorsports, everybody that supports and watches, you guys running the booth, the series letting us run, we appreciate you guys.
All right, man. Well, yeah, once again, congrats on the win tonight. Looking forward to seeing you next week.
Thank you very much.
All right, next up is Dad. Gonna have to ask him about the wide turn 3 and 4.
Yeah, I'm not seeing him in their voice channel though. It was only Kenny in the Unfunded Motorsports channel.
I'm looking for him. I don't see him even in the chat. Is he in the Discord by any chance? Because we could try to.
I'm not sure.
In the meantime, we could grab Josh Oswald.
Yeah, I'll go grab him from wherever he is, and then we'll try to figure out if Kenneth is able to do an interview. But yeah, we'll go ahead and go find Mr. Oswald. There he is. Hey, Josh, Zach, and Will in the booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir. I got you. How you doing?
Hey, man. Well, you were up, I believe, 12 spots from your initial starting position of 15th. So, podium finish at Bristol. That's an exciting race. Take us through it.
Yeah, it was super tough to pass, and that apron was a killer. I caught it early on in the race, and thankfully a caution came out and saved me because it didn't come out for me. And so I came from the back, and it's just restarts. If you were good on your restarts, or at least on the inside, I think even the one, I think I restarted 8th and cut down and went to 5th real quick, but restarts where you were able to make up a lot of ground.
And definitely, was your plan to just try to stay out of trouble for most of the race to get you up there, or since it was kind of hard to pass, or were you just trying to push as hard as you could?
little mixture of both. I like to call it being patiently aggressive. You know, I want to take advantage of every situation I could. If someone moved up and I could get the nose underneath them, because with the modifieds especially, it's kind of hard to bump draft with them. You'll put the guy in front of you right around. So I just, a little mixture of both, trying to play it safe because these cars can't take hits very well, and be as aggressive as I could at the same time to get myself to the front.
Well, congratulations on your podium. It was pretty exciting to watch you come back through the field and everything. Very, very good drive from you tonight.
Thank you. Yeah, I was sweating it out there, making sure I could keep that podium because guys, I didn't want to see that later caution that brought everybody back up because the top three, we were pretty well checked out. But, the ounces, they ran a great race. Hats off to them. They worked together the whole race and they got it done. It was good. It's good. It's fun to watch the two of them go at it the whole race.
All right, man. You got any sponsor shout-outs you want to throw out there?
I'd like to give a big shout out to Magic Mike Motorsports for keeping our series alive here, and everybody that attended our fundraiser race last night. It was a big hit. Joaquin for helping me set up the modifieds, and everybody at Thunderstruck, Jason Warren, Shannon Wilder, Aaron Ward, our newest admin, trying to keep everything running as good as we can.
All right, man. Well, congrats on the podium finish tonight. Looking forward to seeing you next week in these cars.
Absolutely. Looking forward to Wilkesboro.
Yep. All right, so, yeah, it doesn't look like Kenneth is in this Discord. So I guess we'll just have to, if he watches the broadcast over, shout out to you, Kenneth, for a strong car tonight. And, I mean, it ultimately didn't work out in the last lap, but strong car all night.
Yeah, y'all were definitely the class of the field all night. Good race.
Trying to see if he's in the other one. I don't think he's in any of the Discords, but yep. So that was, nope. So yeah, that was 125 laps here tonight from Bristol. I'm gonna pull up the results, and while I do, Will, last thoughts.
Yeah, and it was a bit of a wild one, wasn't it? We ended up getting quite a few green flag laps towards the end. But like per usual, these cars provide a pretty good race and a lot of chaos. And looking forward to next week at North Wilkes. Should be pretty fun since we're going to be having some uphill and downhill racing. We might end up having a little bit of braking, which will end up showing a little bit more of the talent I think that the drivers end up having here, besides just their ability to hold the wheel relatively precisely. And yeah, should be really fun here to see the races ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you mentioned, these cars always seem to put on a good show, and they definitely did tonight, even with the cautions. So once again, congrats to Kenny Younts and everybody here tonight on a fun race. And one last quick shout out to Magic Mike Motorsports, like Oswald mentioned, for keeping the series alive and keeping these guys on track, or at least on broadcast. So, on track and on broadcast. I love broadcasting these guys, and I always love, even watching the broadcast back and watching some of these races. So, yeah, shout out to Magic Mike Motorsports, and shout out to you for joining me on Wednesday nights. So, yeah, I think that'll be it for tonight. So, thank you all for tuning in tonight here at Bristol Motor Speedway. Make sure to tune in tomorrow night for more Bristol racing in these super late models. So, it's been Zach Wetstein and Will Paisley in the booth. Have a good night.